We will have a morning full of presentations, and after each presentation, you are more than welcome to ask questions, either by raising your hand, for which you will find a button at the bottom of the WebEx window, or by posting a question into the chat, for which please remember to select the option to send the question to everyone. And please note that all the questions will be also a part of the recording. Apart from when you're asking a question, I would like to ask you to keep your microphone muted and your camera switched off, because we will be around 80 participants today, so to ensure that the presentations will not be disturbed. Lastly, we have a change in the schedule due to the unfortunate illness of Mr. Leray from France. His absence, however, allows us to give an extra 3 minutes for questions or for discussion after every presentation, and I encourage you to use them. This will be all from me now. And before I pass the word to our first presenter, our dear Minister of the Environment would also like to greet you. So let's watch that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased that so many of you have decided to spend a few hours with the light pollution today. We have been dealing with this subject for 7 years, many of you even longer, but we are far from having a clear answer to the question how to reduce and prevent light pollution. Perhaps the problem is that society has become so focused to the benefits of modern times, including the ability to work, study, socialize, and be active 4 hours after dark, that a month and ever-presence of light has blinded us to the seriousness of the negative impacts of light, especially when combined with other environment challenges of our time, such as climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, and more. Ecosystems affected by these environment challenges are weakened by nighttime light, preventing them for much needed regeneration and recovery. These ideas led me, Minister of Environment, to choose light pollution as one of the main themes of last year's EU presidency. Many of you have participated, online or physically, at the International Light Pollution Workshop, which has held years ago. We decided to give you all the opportunity to meet again her legislative news from 3 member states and these results of 4 interesting projects, exchange views and take away a lot of information and insights. Thank you for being here with us, and I wish you all the pleasant time.
And now I will be happy to pass the word to our first speaker, which is Mrs. Anna Pasková from the Ministry of Environment of the Czech Republic, with her presentation on the regulatory news in the Czech Republic. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy that there are over 50 people connecting today to our webinar. So thank you for that. I hope you all hear me well. And first of all, I will start sharing my presentation. Today, we would like to have a short update what has happened since last year in our regulatory environment. And so also I would touch again also about on research projects and funding possibilities. But first of all, as our minister has mentioned. I'm sorry. Just can you confirm that you see my presentation?
Aničko,
Yes, we can see it, but in the presentation mode.
Klikni prosím na ten druhý monitor, kde máš to velký a ono se to... Máš dva monitory?
Mám dva monitory.
Tak přejď myší na ten druhý, kde máš ten... Tak, jo, přesně tak. A když tak šipkou přehodit můžeš zpátky. Tak jo, super.
Okay, so now it's all set, the presentation?
Perfect.
I hope so. Okay, so as our dear Minister Petr Hladík has already mentioned, it has been 1 year since our meeting during the Czech presidency in Brno, and I would like to thank once again many of you has participated, and also thanks to your knowledge and your insights, we were able to formulate conclusions from this workshop, Brno Appeal. They were handed over to our colleagues in European Commission, also to representatives, members of European Parliament, and they were also presented to Environmental Council. Also, we have published a booklet, and we hope that we'll be able to update it in coming years to really grasp the evolution in respective member states on the topic of light pollution. So what has been new in the Czech Republic? Firstly, we have issued a new Czech technical standard on reducing the undesirable side effects of outdoor lighting. It has been work over 2 years. The technical committee was set to really create interdisciplinary environment, and the technical standard is valid since the 1st March of this year. It sets upper limits for light and other technical parameters. It has 5 application areas, which is road lighting, also lighting of outdoor workspaces, lighting of outdoor sports ground, also architectural lighting, for example, lighting of facades, and also advertising lighting. The technical standards was issued to answer the environment in the Czech Republic. So the environment was set into 5 zones, zone 0 and zone 1, which is very dark and dark zone. Particularly zone 0 is area of protected areas and other vulnerable environmental areas. And the dark zone is set for undeveloped areas and green areas of natural character. And then the other zones go from low bright to very bright, meaning that the very bright is not as bright. The upper limits are set, but as the most brightest area, we consider important urban centers in biggest municipalities and towns. When it comes to the other limits, I would like to mention that we have set also the limits for correlated color temperature, and for bright zones it's set as a maximum 3000 kelvins, and for nature and protected areas it's 2200. And the aim is to use this technical standard for reference in legislative documents. So the aim is to make it binding and obligatory. The other news that we proceeded within construction legislation. The new Construction Act was approved also in March this year by the Ministry of Regional Development. I would like to draw your attention to paragraph 148 which talks about protection against undesirable effects of deconstruction on its surroundings. And we have included light emission as one of the undesirable effects. So it's listed under point D about emissions of dangerous radiation and light. Right now, we are working on wording of decree on technical requirements for construction in process, and this decree will refer to our Czech technical standards for application areas of construction and lighting of facades and outdoor sports grounds. This decree and the new Construction Act will come into power. It will be valid from the 1st July 2024. And we are looking forward finishing the wording of the decree, so we can follow up with more information and awareness spreading in the Czech Republic, that it is binding really to follow this legislation, and that the light pollution is newly added explicitly into the legislation. Another work is within the nature protection legislation. We do have Nature Protection Act, and right now we are working on amendments regarding species protection. And I would like to draw attention that we would like to add one new formulation into paragraph 5, which talks about the general protection of plants and animals. And once again, we would like to ensure that when installing outdoor lighting, the undesirable effects of such lighting will be prevented. And the specific wording is not added to this slide, as it's not agreed yet. So hopefully within the next webinar, we will have it finished and agreed within the government. Also, another part of legislation is environmental impact assessment. I would like to say that light is not listed as explicitly as a pollutant in Czech Environmental Impact Assessment Act. On the other hand, we have issued methodological instruction already in 2020 that light is one of the pollutants that the practitioners, AI practitioners should also take care about. And with publication of our Czech technical norm, we have updated also the methodological instruction guiding the practitioners to consider the night environment when designing lighting systems. We talk about upward light ratio, also about the correlated color temperature within the protected areas and outside, and also to really advise to reduce intensity as low as possible and switch it off when it is not needed. So this was all for the regulatory news, and now just a quick update that we continue with funding for reconstruction of public lighting systems, and that still we do have these parameters, as we said, since 2017, which talks also about the correlated color temperature. It is set lower than, for example, in the Czech technical norm, but the reason is that this particular correlated color temperature for public lighting is set for 2,700 kelvins. The Czech technical standards allows 3,000, but it covers all lighting areas. So we really see the need to have a specific point of view on public lighting as well, and distinguish the maximum needed for other cases. From next year on, we will cover the funding from our ministry, from the Modernization Fund, and we will update also the parameters preventing as much as possible the light pollution when the new installations are built. Also, I would like to draw attention to our research project, which is proceeding, and it will come into the last year of work. It's funded by the Czech Technological Agency, and its name is Influence of Light Pollution on Sensitive Animal Species, Ecosystem and Landscape. And we will have a specific presentation on one of the outcomes, which will be the mapping from the satellites. So just to shortly guide you through the outcomes, we have received already the literature review on light pollution effects on animals and ecosystem, specifically for the Czech Republic. Also, we will receive the map of animal species and their ecosystems threatened by light pollution, and also the assessment methodology, how to assess the effects, which we will use afterwards in other proceedings based on, for example, the updated Nature Protection Act. The field data collection is underway as well, and the map of landscape protection is also right now worked on. So, and the future plans. I would like to say that we would like to continue with expert seminars, and we plan to do one physical, in-person or hybrid in March next year within the B4 group, but also other countries are welcome. And I would like to say that we plan it to have it in beginning of March in Prague. So you will receive all the information needed in due time. Also, when it comes to regulatory approach, we will work on decree on road infrastructure. It's connected to the update of our Construction Act, which divided the legislation or the application area into two ministries, Ministry of Regional Development. I was talking about it with the specific decree for construction, and the road infrastructure. So right now, the work ahead of us is to update also the decree on road infrastructure to really set the upper limits within the decree. And as we are not standing on one in one position, we think that it will be wise also with the technological update and to revise the technical standard which was published, and we would like to reopen it, see how it's working in 2025 once again, and to see what kind of lighting sources are available, and whether we can go over with set limits. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much for giving the presentation. And I can already see that the first questions are being posted into the chat. So would you like me to read it for everyone, or is it okay if you take over?
Well, I just need to orient myself a little bit since I was sharing the screen.
I can read it.
Thank you.
Mr. Dumitru Nastasiou, a citizen scientist from Biodiversity and Environment, asks very warm congratulations for injecting light and light pollution explicitly in state and regional laws. I wish Austria will follow very soon up. Another question is from Mrs. Jana Jakushina, saying, thank you for the presentation, Anna. I wonder if the new standard is binding. Thanks.
Hello, Jana. great to see you here at the webinar. Thank you for the question. The new standard is not binding yet. The technical standard is voluntary right now by design, and it will become binding only when the legislation will refer to it. So when I was talking about the decree for construction, when I was talking about the update of Nature Protection Act, if the reference for this Czech technical standard is embedded, listed, then the Czech technical standard becomes binding for the stakeholders.
Thank you. There is another question that arrived just now from Mrs. Sibyl Schroer, asking, thank you, Anna Paskova, for the nice presentation. I wonder why any light is allowed in strictly protected nature areas. The 2,200K limit is a good achievement, but actually no light should be allowed in protected areas. Is that right?
Thank you, Mrs. Scherer. Indeed, I relate to your comment. When we are negotiating the parameters, it's also important to mention the reality of settlement in the Czech Republic. So when we are talking about nature protected areas, we have to bear in mind that we do have also municipalities in the area of nature protected areas, and it wouldn't be really possible to strictly prohibit, for example, public lighting in these municipalities, even though I do agree that there shouldn't be no light. It's about compromising different interests. And what we are working on is to really hand in our colleagues from environmental authorities to be able to negotiate with other stakeholders that the light is not really a good idea to be placed where it's not needed. We are talking about the slopes, for example. This is repetitive problem, and also about private installations, and to really to have the legislation in place to be able to really win the argumentation when it comes to specific construction or installation, etc. So for now, I think it's very good to take in mind that 2,200 kelvins is the upper limit, and when it comes to the timing of the light, right now it's in the field of negotiation between the environmental authority and also the specific installation, or that's how it should be, in the future when the legislation is in place and it is binding.
Thank you very much for the reply. There was another comment from Mr. Petr Baxant and Mr. Filip Novák from the Technical University of Brno, actually agreeing with you and also noting that the 2,200K is an upper limit and the value of the color-rated color temperature can, of course, be lower. I think we have the time for one last question, which came from Mr. David Smith from the UK. And he says, thank you and congratulations on the progress. Could you explain briefly the process used to decide the technical standard? Was this entirely led by the ministry or part of a public consultation, for example?
Okay, just briefly how the process of issuing the technical standards runs in the Czech Republic. We do have a Czech Agency for Standardization, which is a partner for European agency or international agencies, taking the lead, and it's the only agency and authority issuing the technical standards. So Ministry of the Environment was the initiator to the Czech Agency for Standardization, that some specific norm, some specific standard on reducing light pollution or dealing with light pollution will be developed. So we were the initiator, but we were not part of the technical technical committee. The technical committee was led by lighting technicists, engineer, and the committee was, as I said, set in interdisciplinary manner. So we did have colleagues from astronomy, biology, nature protection, road transport, security and safety, urban planning. So the idea was to have this interdisciplinary approach also to discuss conflicting priorities, and the outcome was set by this technical standard. The technical standard was not part of public consultation, since the process is very strictly run by the Czech Agency for Standardization, because just to know, before the standard is binding, it is obligatory to buy it. So by manner, this kind of standard is not like open document to say. It's not really good, because it should be part of the public consultation, but that's how the Czech technical standards are issued, and I believe it would be similar in other member states. So no, it was not part of the public consultation.
Okay, thank you very much for answering the questions. We've got no more incoming questions, so I think we can all say thanks to Mrs. Anna Paskova for the initial presentation, and let's now switch to the next country, to the next topic. I will give now the floor to Mr. Mario Vujic and Mr. Damir Bartolic from the Croatian Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development, who will tell us about the regulatory news in Croatia. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Helena. Thank you, dear audience. I would like to take this opportunity to greet you all on behalf of Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development, Republic of Croatia. And I will take this opportunity to present light pollution legislation in Croatia. Firstly, Republic of Croatia had act on light pollution in 2011, and the goal, but this act is not longer valid, and we have the new one. The goals of our new legislation is environmental protection, biodiversity protection, nature preservation, ecological stability protection, rational use of energy and resources, and also to contribute the concept of sustainable development. When we talk about the reasons for the new legislation, main reason is a lot of changes in field of construction, environment, nature, energy efficiency, and so on. Then Croatia had designed, adopted, and enforced the Act on Protection Against Light Pollution in 2019 in April. And the Act is accompanied by 3 ordinances that define the legal matters from the Legislative Act. When we talk about our complete legislative framework, firstly we have Act, and we have 3 ordinances. Ordinances deals with zoning and limit values. That's the first ordinance. Then we have the second one about illumination plans and lighting reconstruction plans, and we have the third one about the methodology for measuring of artificial illumination towards the environment. The two last remaining ordinances were adopted and implemented on March 4th this year, and first one is adopted in 2020. What is important to say about the ecologically accepted illumination? We defined our allowed lamps. You can see the difference for the conditions in urban areas and also in protected areas, as showed on the screen. These requirements for protected areas are also stricter than in urban areas because we are talking about national parks, nature parks, etc. When we talk about the first ordinance, here on the screen you have the zones, how we divided Republic of Croatia in lighting zones, and also the designation and circumstances or criteria for each of the zones. Next. Here you can see the example of limit values of vertical illuminance at the building openings, doors and windows, as well as the maximum permissible brightness values of billboards or advertising media screens that are very important for our public because they have a lot of questions about, especially for billboards and advertising media screens. We have these limit values defined before a curfew and during the curfew. Then we have the second ordinance. Special plans are really important for this ordinance because the lighting plan needs to be in accordance with the special plans. Lighting plans must follow them, and also action plans for the construction. Outdoor lighting might or might not be necessary. It depends on the nature of lighting that you have, whether you have the new lights or the existing lights. So far, we had lots of questions and inquiries from the companies that were tasked for the municipalities to draft lighting plans for the adoption, and we think that it's a good signal that indicates that municipalities are eager to meet the one-year deadline for the drafting and adoption of lighting plans after the enforcement of the ordinances. This letter to ordinances from their endorsement. We had a 1 year deadline for the municipalities to endorse their lighting plans. And here you have one graphic example of the illumination lighting plan for the Bakar city. Ministry do this illumination plan to help the municipalities, cities, how to make their own illumination plan for their city or municipality. Then we have the third ordinance, that's the ordinance on measurement and monitoring of environmental lighting. Is dealing with the methodology of measuring outdoor lights and artificial illumination, then the ways of drafting and submitting measurement reports. The ordinance is attempting to define measurement methodologies for all situations that are defined and prescribed with the legal act and also with the first ordinance about lighting zones. And the goal of this ordinance is to gain a valid reports with the actual data. And then I would like to talk a little bit about the challenges and opportunities during the years. We saw some issues. Firstly, it's a definition of new and existing lights, curfew, deadlines for the lighting plans endorsements. Then we have lots of inquiries about administrative interpretation of the legislation, then the inquiries from the public. We noticed distrust towards the inspection and also the behavior of the operators. And in other few slides, we have some examples of outdoor lighting which was installed against the provisions of our legislation. Here you can see its installation of light against our law, because the lamp goes in all directions. The second one is example of unnecessary illumination of coastline and natural body water. It's forbidden to lighting the natural bodies of water. And here you can see the newest and the biggest bridge constructed in Croatia, Pelješac Bridge, which is also illuminate against the provisions of the legislation, because these pylons are forbidden to be illuminate from the downside and through the sea, and also it's forbidden this kind of illumination because it's in a protected area of nature. And here also you have some situation which are problematic. We have some buildings, then we have natural illumination of natural objects, trees, and so on, and illumination of yachts. And I think it's all the examples that I would like to present to you. Thank you for your attention for now, and we are open for all your questions.
Thank you very much, Maria, for giving us the news from Croatia. I can see no question in the chat for the moment. You are also welcome to raise your hand and speak directly with your video switched on if you have a question. In the meantime, I have one, if I may. Actually, I have two questions. The first is you mentioned that you were receiving feedback from the public who, for example, sometimes did not understand the regulation, the legislation. I would like to ask what communication channels they use, what communication channels they have available to learn about what's coming up, what the legislation means, either for the public or for the operators of the light. And my second question is then, how can it happen that the Pelješac bridge is illuminated in such a way? Can you tell what went wrong in the design of the bridge? How can it happen that it's against the legislation? Thank you.
Firstly, we are open for our public. They communicate with us directly with the ministry via email or in direct contact by phone. Also, we are in close contact with the State Inspectorate, and we are posting the information on our website in the part where we have part for the
it is part of the website. Part of the website which deals with our jurisdiction, which is air, soil, and light pollution. So we have direct or indirect communication with the public. Usually, it's directly through the phone call, which is the most common. Sometimes through the email, and in rare cases, we have a communication through the inspection, the ministry, through the environmental inspection. Inspectors, or through the communal inspectors, the local municipality inspectors. We try to deal with them in the appropriate manner, but most of the time we, along with the provisions of the Act and the co-legislation, we have to pass on the inquiries towards the environmental inspector or municipality inspectors. That's how the legislation is devised. But we do answer them in a way in which we quote the provisions of the legislation, so they understand what's happening and what their possibilities are.
Also, we are organizing the workshops for the public and light operators, as well as also for the municipalities, because we are in a close contact with Croatian Chamber of Economy, who is our partner in organizing these kind of workshops, and we are extremely proud for this cooperation with them.
Yes, Chamber of Economy has a certain project which deals with green infrastructure. So there's a consortium of companies within the Chamber of Economy, and we are part of it. We do try to explain municipalities about the deadlines which are defined with provisions of the legislation, and they have until March 2024 to devise illumination plans and action plans for the replacement of the undesired illumination systems. Yeah. And the second question was, sorry, Helena, was about.
My second question was specifically about the Pelješac Bridge, but perhaps we can add it with, or join it with a question from Mr. Christopher Kiba, which was posted into the chat, who's asking what happened with the places where you found that the lights violated the act. I kind of feel that it's two parts of the same question. So if you could please elaborate on that, thank you.
So, yeah, if I may.
Okay.
So the act is in force since April 2019, and the Article 30, I think, says that all existing lighting before that date has exemption period of 12 years. So if the illumination or the lighting system which was in question has been installed before April 2019, then it can be run, it can be lit on for the next 12 years. It has the exemption, I'm afraid. But if the illumination system in question has been installed after the 1st April 2019, then the legislation has two ways of dealing with such an issue. It can be turned off, or it can be fined, depending on the assessment from the environmental inspector. So environmental inspector goes in field to inspect the situation, and it can prescribe measures or it can prescribe penalties. They usually prescribe measures to bring the illumination system in question in accordance with legislation. It's a little bit easier now because with the third ordinance on measurements, we can actually consult the company that can do the measurement and actually determine if the illumination system in question is installed against the provisions of the legislation or not. So it's a little bit easier for the inspectors. About the Pelješac Bridge, this has been a project which has been devised many years before the legislation was even drafted. And when it was installed, we have had few communication with the people in charge, and we had instructed them that the illumination system is not in accordance with the provisions of the act, but nevertheless, because it was financed, the illumination systems in the bridge were installed nevertheless. So, yeah. But the problem is that the illumination, the whole illumination and the whole bridge has been engineered in the national park. So there is a national. It's not a national park. It's a park, nature
It's
park.
a nature
Park under the sea. So it's a little bit tricky.
But this picture can be also the one of the exemption, because our legislation give us the exemptions in some part of the years and for some celebrations. For example, if you
for anniversaries,
for anniversaries, if you have
Statesman Day.
Yes, if you have some, for example, some bridge, and if you have, for example, in Osijek, we lighting our bridge in some colors of some other nationality, some holiday, for example, holiday in France, then the bridge will be illuminated in French colors.
But however, that has to be prescribed with the illumination plans by the municipalities where the bridge is located, and also they have to get the approval from our part of ministry which deals with nature protection, since the park in question is under their jurisdiction. So the legislation is prescribing also that they have to be given permission by the ministry to turn those lights on in certain parts of parts of the year or occasions, according with the illumination plan. So it has to be planned in advance.
Thank you. That was an exhaustive answer. And we have 3 more questions incoming, if I may. The first one was about the feedback from the municipalities and from the public. Can you conclude yet whether the legislation led to a change on the market of lighting systems and sources, or is the change yet to come?
We noticed some changes, but we agree that more changes are yet to come, because we need to test our legislation, because it's still 1-year deadline for the municipalities and a big city to endorse their lighting plan. And we will, when we will have the lighting plans and action plans, then we will can talk about the progress, real progress. But we see lots of changes in way of thinking of a public and the municipalities.
And let's say that that's a prerequisite for a real change, a very, very important one. Thank
Yes.
you. We still have some time, so I will just read the remaining questions. It is uncomplicated for citizens to expose or complain or request to the authorities for no light pollution when they identify it on public spaces, commercial or private areas, in general, when they see it in the random landscape, and in special cases when light pollutes their own private property.
Well, the procedure is not complicated, but the question is, for these situations and for these cases, in spaces, commercial or private areas, majority, I would say like 99% of our population doesn't really care about illumination. And those 1% that do have direct impact, the illumination problems usually impact them directly, or their lifestyle. In very rare cases, few individuals which do happen to walk around the cities and do complain about certain things. In general, they do present their cases and opinions in a proper way towards the municipality inspectors, and in majority cases they go directly towards the national inspector for the environment, state inspector for the environment, and then they either ask us for the interpretation of the legislation, which is a little bit tricky, and they're not really certain. We had several instances when the inspectors were not really certain if it's a case of illumination pollution, because to them it didn't seem like it was, but actually when we talked with them and explained to them that from the photos and the videos they have submitted that the illumination really is against the legislation, then the inspectors realize that they lack certain knowledge, so they do tend to talk with us if there's any situation which is a little bit tricky. In random landscapes, we have several examples of problems with illumination. One of them is actually in the dark sky park, which was a little bit interesting. It was about the signal light on one of the communication towers, which needs to be there because of the helicopters and air traffic. It has to be placed on those transmitters according to the law, but then it kind of diminishes the whole dark sky park idea. So yeah, we had all kinds of cases regarding light pollution. But yeah, the reporting system is not complicated. It's really easy for people to send an email or call or contact in any way appropriate. I see we have one more question from Jan.
Yeah, there was a question about the complaint procedure, which I think you sort of described. Do these cases sometimes get to the court?
Not yet.
Not yet.
As far as we know, not yet. They might, but thankfully not yet. The complaint procedure, well, that doesn't fall within our jurisdiction. This is the whole other ministry which deals with these
This
issues.
is a state inspectorate is in charge for that.
That part of the
procedure. And as far as we know from our state inspectorate and also municipality inspectors, they are really talking with the people. We all together learn how to prevent lighting pollution. And we all think that we need to go first with your education, and after the period of education and that people and implementation and the people be conscious about this problem of lighting pollutions, then we can start with the penalties. We think that it's the best way first to educate the people, to awareness raising about this problem, and after that, if it's not enough, then we can go with the penalties.
It's crucial for the public to know about their rights, but also about their obligation. And in the case of illumination and the light pollution, and along with the provisions of our legislation, every single person that turns the light on and off, outdoor lighting on and off, is an operator and is under obligation to withhold the provisions of the legislation.
Thank you. Mrs. Beata Vili-Maite, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name correctly, has raised her hand. I can't see the hand raised anymore. Sorry, hand raised anymore. But Mrs. Vili-Maite, if you're still interested, you can switch on your camera and microphone, and you can ask a question.
I'm sorry, it was just some problems with my mouse, so it was raised just by accident. So thank you.
Okay, no problem.
For a question, but
no problem. We've got the one more question incoming from Mr. Kiba. It's basically a comment. The U.S. National Park Service recently reported on a study where they looked at how much time signal lights, such as the one on the tower that you mentioned, would have been on if the signal was turned on via the aircraft detection lighting systems rather than on all the time. For most of the sites, as far as I can recall, the total illumination was a few minutes per year, which reminds me of the shared economy where you own an electric drill, but you actually use it once a year.
Yes, that's really interesting. And it's something to consider in the long term, definitely.
Perfect. I can see no more questions incoming. So I would like to thank both the gentlemen for sharing with us the news from Croatia. And I think that we can take a break now. We will meet again here at 10:30. We will leave the webinar on. So I'll see you all in around 13 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back after the break. Now we've got in the second part of our webinar, we've got a project section. We will have the presentations of 4 interesting projects, both from the Czech Republic and from elsewhere. Since there's 4 presentations and we counted for 20 minutes for each, I would really like to ask our presenters to stick to their allocated time, even though I think that we will have a lot of discussion and a lot of questions. Please try to be time efficient so we can finish on time. And the first speaker will be Mr. David Moravec from the Czech University of Life Sciences in Prague, presenting us his part of the project that Mrs. Paskova mentioned in the first presentation. Mr. Moravec, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll share my screen. So, just a moment, please. Sorry. Okay, perfect. So I just want to ask you whether, can you see the presentation and also hear me?
We can see the presentation and hear you well.
Perfect.
However, I'm not sure whether you're on the first slide of your presentation because
Now
we can see the name.
I am. Okay, so I'm David Moravec from Czech University of Life Science, and as already has been mentioned, I'm going to speak about a project which has this beautiful name: Effect of Light Pollution on Sensitive Animal Species, Ecosystems, and Landscape Characteristics. And this project have 2 big parts. One part is about impact of light pollution on wildlife species, and the second part is about the impact of light pollution on the landscape and the perseverance of a human on the landscape. But my goal in this and my role in this project is to back up those 2 big parts by remote sensing of night lights, and I am using satellite remote sensing. So in general, we have several satellites which are capable to see the night landscape, let's say, but most of them are private. And because we wanted to use this data as a source also for government and etc., we have to rely on some free available data sources. And there are just 2. One is Luojia, which is a Chinese satellite, and the second one is VIIRS. And in this study, in this project, we actually we rely on this satellite VIIRS, which is on board of 2 satellites. One is NOAA 20 and the second one is Suomi NPP. And we choose this satellite because of it have quite a long history. The first image has been taken in the year 2012, so now we can see more than a decade of development of night lights over the Czech Republic. It have also fair enough spatial resolution of 750 meters per 1 pixel, and it have also beautiful bit depth of 14 bits per image, which allows us to see even slightly changes of amount of light and to track such a small changes. But when you take a look about the raw data, and when you make a time series composite from those raw data from those satellites, you will see crazy jumps in the sensed night lights, and it's because the data are somehow corrupted by several noise sources. The first problem here is that the surface albedo is changing during the year. The main effect is a snow cover, which really push up all the values you measured by the satellite. The second problem is the phase of the moon, which also illuminating the landscape. So you have different measurements under different moon phases. Also, aerosol loading in the atmosphere is causing when you have some light source and you have a high aerosol load in the atmosphere, you can see that this soil is blurring, and you measure some artificial light even in the vicinity of the light source. Also, there is on the with this data, there is some cloud masking, but the cloud masking is not always 100% correct. And some clouds, mainly the really high altitude clouds, thin clouds, sometimes are still present on the final products. There is also a problem with vegetation phenology, because when you have a leaf-on season, this leaf-on can somehow hide some of the sources. So especially in the cities looks a little bit darker when during the leaf-on season compared to leaf-off. Also, geometry of observation is problem, because when you see especially cities, when you see it from different angles, you can see that some light sources are, for example, hidden behind some buildings, etc. So different geometry of observation cause also different values. We have a problem with air glow. The upper atmosphere levels are actually shining a little bit during the night. We can't see it by our eyes, but the satellite is measuring it, and it causes the noise in our measurements. Or we can have even aurora effect, even here in Czech Republic. So the raw data are actually not suitable for some long-term observation of the light sources development. But there are two groups which are working with this VIIRS satellite data, which are trying to correct those problems. One is a group of Colorado School of Mines, and the second is a group in the NASA, and they call NASA Black Marble. In our project, we are using the products from Colorado School of Mines. Even that this group is trying to correct those uncertainties, those extra effects. When you take a look to some time series, here you can see the graph of night lights in Czech Republic made out of their annual product. You can see that there are some huge jumps which have no meaning, and they are actually those are definitely errors. So we have to calibrate it even more. And what we find out that what we used for the calibration is this dark object subtraction. Dark object subtraction is a really old method which is used in the classic remote sensing applications for decades. And we know that it works quite nice. From our previous papers, we know that it's more or less comparable to other types of atmospheric correction methods. And it have a quite straightforward premise. And the premise is that when we take a look on this nightlight image or satellite image, there have to be some parts of the satellite image where no light sources are, so which should be absolutely dark. In our case, we assume that at least 1% of Czech Republic are actually areas where we have no night light sources, and those parts should be dark. And if we see some signal which comes from those parts, we just assume that this is actually the effect of atmosphere, and we subtract this effect from all the image. And by applying this easy method, we were able to actually create a consistent product over all the history of the observation of this satellite. Here you can see the original data from Colorado, from the product from Colorado School of Mines, and also with this darker curve, you can see what was the development of night lights in Czech Republic after the dark object subtraction correction has been applied. So now we can see that we have actually a slightly increasing trend of night lights over the Czech Republic. by applying this simple method, we were able to create a consistent product. Here you see the development of night lights since the year 2012 until the year 2021. And you can see that it's quite consistent, and now we can actually focus on some new light sources or changes in light sources. And we also can map a trend over the Czech Republic. Here you can see what in the red colors, pixels which have actually positive trend. So we have pixels where we have increasing amount of night lights in the Czech Republic. That's in red color. And also you can see pixels or areas where we have a decreasing trend in the light in the Czech Republic, which are in a blue color. You can also see areas with overall high amount of night lights, which is yellow colors, or low amount of night lights, which is this dark purple color. And now, when we can map those trends, we can focus more on where actually we have those night light sources. So, and we can validate this product. Here you can see nice examples where we see a huge increase of night lights in Czech Republic, and those are actually newly built up industrial areas. One is industrial area Joseph, the second one is Triangle on the left from west of the Prague. And you can see that by building such areas, we are causing more night lights. But we can see also other trends, like where we have less amount of night lights. Here, this example is a declining trend due to declining of mining activities in ČSA quarrying. So the situation over Czech Republic is quite dynamic, and it's changing from side to side. With our product, we also can see what is the overall trend of in different localities, and especially in protected areas of Czech Republic. So we can now see which areas are where some activities focused on reducing the emission of night lights, where it makes a sense and where it is not. And we are not having just this annual acquisition of satellite images, but we have also monthly steps, and we have also quartile steps. The second question in our project was, whether the satellite image is suitable for determining the brightness of the night sky. To test it, we established the test localities around the city of Příbram, and there were a total of 40 sites where we measured the night sky glow by this sky quality meter, and we measured it under three conditions: under clear sky condition, under cloudy condition, and under foggy situation. And each of the locality has been measured 3 times, so in total we measured 360 measurements. And and when we saw the result, it was quite we were not satisfied, because actually satellite imagery is not suitable to predict whether we will have a really dark sky or we will have a bright sky condition. Only under foggy situation we were able to, the model was able to explain somehow the situation of the night sky by the satellite images, but we were able to explain only 37% of variability of the night sky brightness. And why so? The reason is simple. On the right side, this is example from světlaznečištění.cz, and on the right side you can see 2 satellite images. The arrow is pointing to 2 pixels, which are in both cases totally dark. But when you take a look about the center part of this image, you can see that in the upper example, the night sky is actually quite there is high amount of light. On the bottom side, there is a low amount of light. And the reason is that when the satellite is observing just whether in that particular locality, if there is some source or not of the light. But when you stand on the ground, you are the night sky is affected by also broad vicinity of your locality. There is also another problem with the night with this satellite observation, and that's a problem of different spectrum. If you take a look about what are actually the spectrum emissions by the lamps on the streets, here you can see the halogen lamp. Here you can see HPS. It's the sodium lamp, and also you can see the emissions of LED lamps. And in this blue curve, you can see the sensitivity of VIRS sensor, and you can see that actually VIRS sensor is blind to this super blue spectrum of the lamps. So we are actually not able to see the blue part of the spectrum, which is emitted by most of the LED sources. So to wrap it up, what is it good for and how we can use the remote sensing to see the development of night lights? We can definitely track and identify the light pollution sources in our country. With some caution, we can also monitor the long-term trends, but we have to be aware that there could be some extra noise, which I mentioned on the first part of my speak. And also we have to be aware that the satellite is not able to see the blue part of the spectrum. And definitely what is not suitable for the satellite measurement is the sky quality conditions for night observation, because yeah, as I already explained. So that's all from my part. Thank you for attention, and if you have any suggestion or question, I will be happy to answer that.
Many thanks, Mr. Moravec, for your very interesting presentation. We still have 2 minutes for questions, and since I cannot see any raised hand or any question posted in the chat yet, I will reserve the right to be the first one to ask. Can you elaborate a bit more about how the results of your research will be linked with the other parts of the research in the project that you mentioned, with the biological part, please, and the landscape part?
Yeah, first of all, we are in the project identifying species which are sensitive to the light pollution, and also because not all of the species are negatively affected by light pollution. Some of them are also positively actually affected, and we have also a nice database of different species present over the Czech Republic. We will identify areas where we should be more strict, where we should concentrate our protection activities to protect really endangered species. So we will be able to focus on specific location where it makes a sense to make such a protection, and also we will identify the parts of the Czech Republic where it's not necessary actually to pay attention to such a light pollution protection. That's the main reason, and I would like to also modulate the reaction of the species because we have now more than a decade of the history of the observation, so we were able to model how actually the presence of the species are reacting on different conditions in the light conditions.
Thank you very much for your answer. As I see no more questions, and it's about time to pass the word to the next speaker, I would like to thank Mr. Moravec again for his presentation, and I'm sure that since he has shared his email address at the end of his presentation, in case any of you has some further questions, you are welcome to liaise directly. And now let's get on to the next project from the Czech Republic. Mr. Filip Novák and Mr. Petr Baksand from the Technical University in Brno will, they are already ready. So I'll just give the floor to the gentlemen. Thank you.
We can't hear you. Please turn on a microphone. Still not. Still nothing.
Is your microphone switched on? It may be the settings of the microphone.
Okay, what about now?
Yes,
Hear us?
we can hear you.
Oh,
No,
we
it's
are
perfect.
so sorry for the interruption on our side.
No problem.
Jo, share.
Jo, nemáme puštěnou tu prezentaci. It stops presentation actually, and we will be ready in a second.
Musíš se zavřít znova.
Yeah, it looks better. Share.
Okay, so I guess now you can finally see and hear us. Is that correct?
Perfect. Yes,
Okay.
everything is working just fine.
Okay, so once again, sorry for the technical difficulties on our side. My name is Filip Novák, and today I'm here with my supervisor, Associated Professor Petr Baksand, at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Communication in Brno. We would like to tell you something about our recent research and development in the field of measurement and evaluation of artificial light in the night environment. So let's begin. Okay, so first of all, to actually understand what light pollution is or isn't, you need to actually compare it to some natural light sources, because otherwise it would be quite difficult to quantify what's actually bad and what's acceptable for us. So in the night environment, the biggest contributor to the natural light is actually, of course, the moon, which cannot be considered a pollutant, of course, because it's been there since ages. And moon contributes to approximately a quarter of lux on the Earth, if it's in full moon, of course. Compared to levels of illumination during sunny day, it's 400,000 of the natural surface illumination compared to the day. So as I said, it's very important to actually consider the contrast between the natural sources. One of our approaches to the measurement of artificial light at night is actually monitoring quite closely the luminance of moon and, of course, sometimes of the sun. And we are basically building a database of measurements of luminances and the contrasts on the surface of the moon. because basically if we have a big enough database, we are then able to basically understand the propagation of artificial light at night in the atmosphere. If we compare the moon to, let's say, the flame of a candle, basically the flame, which also can be considered a natural source of light, of course, in some instances, the maximum range of the luminance of the flame is around. It maxes out at around 13,000 candela per meter squared. But compared to the actual light intensity, it's a very, very small value compared to the moon. Now let's talk about some more contrast. Basically, here you can see a luminance map of Brno skyline, and we've placed a half-degree detector here on the horizon, and you can see the average luminance in this yellow circle below is around 44 millicandela per meter squared, which is very low value compared to the moon, approximately 50,000 smaller value. But of course, the moon is seen with a very small solid angle, like 6.4 to the -5 steradians. So while the night sky can be seen with a solid angle of almost 2 pi steradians. So that's another comparison of the actual values of luminance or solid angle. Our approach to monitoring light pollution is a bit different from what's done mostly in other places, because most of the times the methods to quantify light pollution are based on luminance values of they are based on luminance values measurements of the night sky. Actually, that's correct in some cases, but mainly for astronomers and people and biologists. But actually, it doesn't tell us much about the sources of the light pollution. Another problem with the measurement of the night sky luminance is that those values fluctuate based on the weather. I mean, the cloud cover changes, snow comes, and that means significant changes in the values of night sky luminance. Almost all of those measurements are done in the photometric band, or they are measured in candela per meter squared. We actually developed a melanopic filter for our luminance analyzer, and we work to extend the measurements to the melanopic domains, so we can actually quantify the effect it has on the secretion of melatonin. Also, another problem is that the sky glow isn't typically what causes the most damage to the environment. Most of the damage is done actually by the direct exposure to the artificial light. Let's say you have a lamp in a park and it shines brightly towards some maybe bushes and so on. And of course, that's going to be much more damaging than just heightened value of the night sky luminance. Actually, as I said before, we also measure the luminance values of the sun and moon to better understand the propagation and extinction of artificial light in the atmosphere. We participate in global conferences. We've participated in the ALAN 2023 conference in Calgary this year, and also in the CIE conference in Ljubljana. We will be attending the meeting on light pollution in Granada in Spain this November. So let's talk about maybe current trends in ALAN research or light pollution research. It's not only studied from the photometrical or astronomical point of view, but as the previous speaker basically said, the impact of ALAN is also being monitored on different species. Those that I've listed here, nightjars, eels, trout, bats, insect, were basically the points of some articles in the Alan presentation. Also, there's starting to be a lot of papers or research on social and cultural impact of Alan. For instance, on indigenous people or on way the people think about environment. Also, there's been much research and development in the field of modeling, for instance, Monte Carlo models and so on. For our research, we use mainly, as I said, luminance analyzers, which we also actually develop. And on this picture, you can see that we've mounted them on two different motorized tripods. On the left side, you can see Skywatcher unit, which is basically an astronomical sky tracker, which can be used to track the movement of moon or different celestial object in the night sky. On the right side, you can see two-axis motorized head that can be used to take automated measurements of the sky. Actually, this slide is related to the previous one. You can see on the left side 4 different views from fish islands. Those images were taken on a hill near Brno, and you can see basically the very distinguished sky glow in some of parts of the image, mainly on the east side. We then took for comparison some zenith luminance measurement, and actually now we are working on transforming those images into something like this, which is basically hammer projection, I would say. And we believe this is our best take at the approach of monitoring the sources of light pollution in the night environment. This is a different type of projection. This time it's been composed of 2 fisheye images. You can see that it's still not quite perfect because it's still in development, but we believe that if we add enough analyzing functions into our software, it will be very beneficial for the monitoring of light pollution at night. We also did some experiment in 2 years ago, in year 2021, when we were able to turn off the lights in Brno, and we took some aerial photos, or external company took some aerial photos on the right side. Then they did the measurement during normal day, so you can actually see the difference between public lighting turned on and turned off. We then use those images to convert them into relative luminance values. And so this is the situation when the lights are on. This is the situation where lights are off. And then we were able to calculate the difference between those 2 images and actually calculate the approximate contribution to the emissions from this part of the city. So you can see in this part of the city, the public lighting systems are responsible for around 85% of upper hemisphere emissions of light. Also, we can look at a different part of the city. This time it's an industrial park in Brno Slatina. And of course, when we turn the lights off, you can see that not much change compared to the previous pair of images. So again, if we calculate the difference, you can see that here it dropped only by around 40%. When we have a residential area, for instance, with very low commercial or industrial objects, the value or the contribution of public lighting can be closer to 90%. As we said before, we also monitor the luminance of sun and moon. On the left side, you can see a close-up image of some sunspots. We actually measured their luminance and their size, because of course the luminance camera can also measure solid angles, We then calculated that the large spot on the lower left side of the image is around 25,000 kilometers in diameter. On the right side, of course, you can see some pictures we took of a solar eclipse. That's not directly related to the light pollution, but it's still valuable information about luminance, its value of the sun. Also, as I said, sun before, now moon. Last year was also a lunar eclipse, and we took pictures of that as well. So here you can see basically luminance maps of the moon in 4 different stages of the eclipse, and you can see the average value of luminance dropped. So actually, to conclude, we believe that measuring just the luminance values of the night sky isn't enough, and we need to actually measure the sources of light pollution in situ. We also think that motorized mounts for the luminance cameras are quite helpful because they speed up the process, and they actually can be used to make it more precise because they can move in exact way compared to, let's say, human-based movement. We can also use aerial photography to quantify the sources of light pollution, but the issue with that is that of course it's kind of expensive, and you need to equip the plane with in best case a luminance analyzer, which wasn't done before, so we are looking towards that. We want to provide scientists with objective data about light at night, and not only in the visual spectrum, but also in the melanoptic spectrum as well. So actually that's, I believe, everything from us. If my supervisor wants something to add.
Yeah, I think it's okay what Philip was talking. Main focus we like to do to the really measurement devices and methods how to measure not only skies but the sources in details, and analyze not only luminances but other quantities based on other type of spectral response curves. Actually, we have filters for melanopic sensitivity, and maybe in the future it's not problem to exchange to another type of filters. But we want to make some metrics for the compare traditional photometric values, astronomical values, and let's say melanopic values, and maybe other types of metrics for the biology systems which are in the environment. So it's our deal. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, we will be glad to hear them.
Many thanks, gentlemen, for sharing your fascinating research, and I can say very promising for the future. We actually do have some questions. One question with 2 parts. I believe that the first part has been partly answered because the question sounds whether the fact that not only ground-based light pollution, but also the rapidly increasing light pollution from growing numbers of satellite and space debris in orbit around Earth is being taken into account in current research. And Mr. Novak, you mentioned that actually, according to your research, the main harmful sources of light pollution for animals seem to be the ones that are ground-based. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically we believe that our main approach is towards the ground-based measurement, but I would say that the issues of I would say satellite light measurement were answered by the previous presentation. Our approach isn't exactly centered around light pollution caused by satellites and space debris, but of course in some instances it can be very troubling for mainly, of course, astronomers.
Sure, thank you. The second part of the question focused on or asked about the weather effects of not only nighttime pollinators but also daytime pollinators were being taken into account. Can it be answered by partly by what Mr. Baksan said at the very end, that you can measure using different filters, also adjusted to, for example, the animal's vision?
Actually, that would be very very good if it would be possible to, let's say, create multiple filters for different species or different types of plants. But currently, I believe we only have the V lambda filter or photopic filter and the menolopic filter. So while it would be very interesting to have basically measured exactly the responses of some animals, I don't believe it's I would say convenient or possible in short-term notice.
We are not there yet.
Yeah.
Thank you. 3 more questions, actually. It seems that your research has really sparked a lot of attention. Mr. Vujic is asking, thank you for an awesome and comprehensive presentation. Is your research and development of measurement and evaluation of artificial light at night in any way feasible with smart city solutions?
Actually,
I think yes, it can be, but we are just in state where we focus on the measurement devices and precise of the technology, and then we will able to integrate it to another type of systems and, let's say, evaluate how the systems works in practice, as I understand well to the question. Yeah, minimally like this. But I hope in the smart city the new technology for the let's say regulation of the light in affect, or let's say the behavior of the habitants in the city should be set to use the light just only in the while when it's needs from the habitants, not in the case where there is nobody and there is no user for the lights. Yeah, so I think we should also in the measurement take notes if there are somebody or there are not some in the given time in the night. So let's say it's maybe about a smart measurement also, not only just only smart cities, but we should ask if we measure in proper time, proper situation, and so on.
Thank you. A technical comment from Alejandra Sanchez. Why do you not provide RGB intensities as is the raw data?
Maybe if the person can clarify what luminance maps is he referring to. But basically, we don't provide RGB intensities because we believe that if we can actually convert those values into luminance, it actually is, at least from our current point of view, more beneficial or more informative than just the RGB values.
Yeah, I can add some notes because RGB are not standardized. Yeah, it's not standard for all the cameras around the world. Every camera have a little bit different sensitivity of the chips, and so we minimize the mistakes between the type of devices, and because we use a special different filter to correct the sensitivities of RGB to V lambda curve to be sensitive like a human eye. And also we can use another type of filter, and of course RGB values to evaluate, for example, melanopic values. Yeah, so RGB are not good standard or good norm for the measurement because it's different. It depends on the type of cameras.
Thanks a lot. There's one last question, which I think we can still take, or maybe it's rather a comment from Mr. Stefan Wolner. I can encourage everybody working on measurement of light pollution to include the polarization to their experimental approaches, especially for impact assessment to biodiversity. And he's asking whether you have an experience so far with your devices.
I believe we haven't done any experiments based on polarization of light. Not yet. So it's possible if current research suggests that it's beneficial, then I believe we will get there.
It's a challenge for us, let's say. Yeah, thank you for the tips. Yeah.
Thank you for all the questions and all the answers, gentlemen. I believe it is time that we pass the word on to our next speaker, which is Mrs. Giulia Marzani from the University of Bologna, who will present us the results of her project, or the project she's working on, which is called Enlighten Me, which kind of might be linked to what the gentlemen previously were talking about, that one of the current strands of research is the social and cultural impacts of artificial light at night. And Giulia, since we've taken 5 minutes of your time, for which I apologize, of course, you will have 5 minutes extra until 11:35 for your part. Thank you very much, and I pass the word on to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm sharing the screen.
Not yet.
No, I'm coming. Okay, now it should be.
Perfect.
It should be. I put it in presentation mode. Okay, I hope everything is fine. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Giulia Marzani, and I'm from the University of Bologna. And today I'm here on behalf of the Enlighten Me coordination team that I'm part of. And Enlighten Me is a project related to health. Just one moment, because it's a project related to health, well-being, and the impact of lighting on health and well-being. We started in March 2021, and we have still 1 year and a half of working ahead. And we are 22 partners coming from 10 countries, and both from Europe and America, in particular USA. And our overall objective is to improve older adults' health and well-being by addressing public policies related to indoor and outdoor lighting. So our target is specifically older adults that are people with plus 65 years. And here the two pictures are showing our two big souls of the project that are on one side the effect of lighting on the social perspective, so on the social life of people, and the other part that is more focused on health. So we are working on circadian rhythm, personal sleep, and light exposures of especially older adults. How we are doing this? We have 3 cities that are our partners, and that are the city of Bologna, the city of Amsterdam, and the city of Tartu. And here we are going to carry on innovative lighting intervention, both indoor and outdoor, through the establishment on one side of the urban lighting labs that are working more on outdoor lighting installation and effect of our experimentations. And on the other side, with a population-based study that is more related and more addressing to assess the impact of lighting on health. Among the results, before going into more detail of the urban lighting labs and the population-based study, I would like to present you today some of the results that we obtained in these years that were aimed at building knowledge about this topic. So here you have an atlas that that is a geo-referenced web platform. So here there is the link, so you can access to this platform, and in this part there is a repository representing the existing knowledge about the evidences and good practices on urban lighting for health and well-being, especially targeting older adults again. So it's possible to search according to query, to keywords, and it's still ongoing. So it's really an open atlas that will close only at the end of the project. So in case you have some projects, some papers, some experimentations that you are aware of, and you would like to share it with us, you are free to do it. We are still collecting materials, so it's not a finished task, but it's a first repository of what we have on these topics, and our aim is always to improve it. In the same atlas, in the same web page, let's say, we also put one of our first results, of the most important one, that are urban lighting and health maps. Because we had to select a district on which to carry on lighting intervention. So we decided to do it by mapping the current situation about urban features, lighting, and health. With the data that municipalities could provide. So in order to make these indicators comparable, and today I'm speaking here only about the lighting ones, but of course, if you are interested in the platform, you have also all the others indicators. We were able to have just only three indicators that could be comparables among the municipalities. So we calculated the electrical power, that is a watt per meters of outdoor areas, the percentage of LED lamps, and the average control color temperature that is expressed in Kelvin. And what maybe it could be of interest of this public today is that in order to keep together the two souls, so the health and well-being part, we calculated two scenarios, because we had to put together these indicators in order to have an index, so a final value. And according to the well-being scenario, we decided which direction of the indicator would be the best one, and we did the same according to the sleep scenario. Just for an example, it's really it's easy. According to the well-being scenario, the highest is the value of the electrical power, the better is for the social life. The higher is the percentage of LED lamps, the better is. And on the contrary, the less is the value of the temperature, the better is. So this was the sense, and we joined together these two scenarios to take into account the two souls of our project. What also we had at disposition is the satellite data. And here I report to you some lessons learned that Mount Sinai, our partner from USA, provided me, because we had the possibility in Bologna, especially, to have a comparison between what we obtained from satellite data and the ground level measurements. In general, the quality and quantity of data available from satellite image has exploded. So we are really happy of this. But at the same time, we realized that the satellite data alone cannot tell the entire story, because we have also to understand the smaller scale, especially for our urban lighting labs. So at small scale, for example, we have some arcades or porticos that cannot be, and their light cannot be detected, of course, by satellite. And also squares that are covered by trees are not detected by satellite, but in reality, they are quite brightly lighted. So they conclude that it's still very important to have lighting measurements, take at at the ground level. However, both from satellite data and from ground level measurement, we have that in Bologna, the value were hardly ever enough to exceed recommendation for human nighttime light exposure based on MEDI or circadian stimulus. But at the same time, it's also really important that we understand light exposure throughout the 24-hour day. So It's also necessary to see how people are exposed during daytime and if there is or not a strong contrast between night and day. And so probably satellite cannot say everything for human light exposure, but at the same time it could be very useful to understand something more related to insects, birds, or bats who can experience outdoor lighting from above. Going on with our urban lighting labs in this case, we have established these laboratories in all the 3 enlightened cities to engage communities and to co-create and implement outdoor lighting installations. So we spend time with citizens to understand how they want to change public spaces and lighting in public spaces. And then we conduct qualitative research and technical lighting measurements in the district, both before, during, and after the interventions. And this is the case study of Bologna. This is the area where we change lightings. It's Piazza Lambrakis, and we started in May 2022 with the public meeting to kicking off the lab. And then we started the co-design with the residents and the participants to these labs. And in June 2023, we switched on the new lighting. Then summer period came, so it was not feasible to experiment since the daylight is very prominent in that period. So now in October we are going to start with experimentation with the creation of different lighting scenarios, and we tested with citizens to understand how their social life, the use of space changes according to the light scenarios that we are setting up. Here are some pictures from the event. These are the new lighting installation that are tunable lights, so you can change color, and we gained a lot of people there. It was a really nice environment and a really nice event. And when it comes to the population-based study, here we are recruiting 500 participants per city in the district that we selected in order to assess especially the indoor lighting impact on circadian rhythm, sleep, personal light exposure, mental and physical health through a baseline and a follow-up study. And basically we give them a lamp for the light therapy, and we are also able to record if they are going or not through the outdoor lighting installation of the urban lighting labs. So at the end, we would like to assess the outdoor lighting as a covariate for the indoor lighting effects. But still, the recruitment is still ongoing, so I don't have any result to share with you. But what is the aim of the project at the end is to collect all the evidences from both the social research and the population-based study research, and collect them and put them at the basis for drafting new lighting policies and to influence the lighting master plans process. And here it's a very first draft of our work on this. We are still very initial phase. So we would like that health is taken into account in drafting master plan process, of lighting and improving urban health and reducing health disparities in cities. For example, we would like to suggest to have a testing phase, also like our pilot areas, maybe in the most critical area of the city. And we are co-creating all this process with the Board of Lighting Companies, that is a company made of lighting producers, so to see also if the market is influenced by our findings, and together with the cities and the Scientific Advisory Board. Just to conclude, to provide you an overall picture of what we are also going on based on our results, we are proposing an health city manager training to constitute a figure, a role in the public administrations, expert in lighting, and to put light as a kind of intersectorial approach to promote at the basis of all the strategies of the public administration. And it's going on in our Enlighten Me cities. And then we also have a Lighting Up City Life campaign that targets citizens and general public with informative materials like video, infographic, posters, and leaflets offering tips to reorganize lights in their homes and also behavioral recommendation to reduce adverse health and well-being effects. And this is all from my side. And here you can find both my email and also our social channels, so you can reach out us when you want. And if you have any question, I'm here and happy to answer.
Many thanks, Julia, for sharing the results of the project. I would like to. I was very interested in the Bologna phase, or what was it called? The evidence building phase in Bologna. You took, or it only took a year since the very initial phase of the first meetings around how to recreate the lighting in the space until the lights were already installed and switched off. I think that's quite a short time, or maybe did the Bologna city officials play a big role in it regarding the dissemination of the information and working with the public?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's a short time, but we had some positive environment because we have the city of Bologna that is part of the project, so they are directly committed to this, and also we have the lighting producer company in the part of the project, so we avoided the selection phase of finding supplier for the new lighting installation. So we have the Neri company that is with us that provided all the lighting, the new lighting installation. And for the engagement with people, we had some workshops together. We performed the kind of night works, and then we made some proposition. And so we could, then we asked the participants to express their preferences, and they were very happy to see that the light was tunable, so they can choose the colors and the intensity on the basis of what they want to do. And it's very, very nice to see that it very fits their needs, because it's they organize, for example, book section lectures, so they are able effectively to read really easily during this period, and they also can switch on only part of the square and keep on the dark side some other parts of the square. So they were very interested in playing also with this new tool, because it's really easy to manage through an iPad. So they are very satisfied. And also we switched on lighting in Amsterdam, so 5 years ago. So also that process is really, it's smooth and started, and I think that in a short time we will do it also in Tartu.
Thanks a lot. And another question is coming in from Alejandra Sanchez. Thanks for the presentation. Can you tell us which satellite you have used for your research?
Yeah, we use the Jilin 1, and I'm sorry if the pronunciation is not very good. I hope that it's satisfied.
Sybil Schroer is asking about the company involved in the project, how it is used to evaluate if the project results are to be recognized from the industry, whether the company that is involved plays a role in it.
Just let me read it once again. Can you please explain a bit more how the company is used to evaluate if the project results are to be recognized from industry? Okay, we have, as I said, among our partners, we have this company that is Neri that supplied all our new lighting. And then we have this board of lighting companies that is made of 12 or 13 lighting companies, such as Arup or I don't remember now, but I can share some link with you. So we have 12 or 13 companies involved, and so we are doing workshop with them on a time base, and we decided to, and we asked them if they will change something in their production or how, or they directly contribute to our co-design sometimes. So we will ask them, and we use them as a test if we are influencing or not the market. And we are also trying to participate to the building fair in Frankfurt next year. That is a nice occasion full of lighting companies, and to present the project and our results, hoping that we have an impact on these.
Last question from Mrs. Paskova. Since the project is funded by the Horizon, are you aware of any follow-up projects at the European level? And is there any plan to use the outcomes by the European Commission?
Okay, we still have some time before the end of our project. Of course, we are thinking at the exploitation phase, so to exploit our exploitable results. So we are working on this, and we are part of a cluster that is funded by the European Commission. I mean, has been funded by the European Commission, and we are 6 projects there working on urban health. I share here the link with you if you want to check. And we have 6 projects dealing with with the same, almost the same topic, but lighting is our specificities. So you will not find any other project that are working on light, but they are related to health. And so if you want to check, this is a way of putting our efforts in common with other projects in order to influence policy making, especially at the European level also. So we are working on policy brief and guidelines to influence policies also at European level. This is what I am aware now.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the presentation and all your answers. Let's now switch to the last presentation of today, which is by Mr. Christopher Kiba from the Ruhr University Bochum and Potsdam, who's going to present the Night Lights app. Christopher, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation to be here and to present today. I'm very happy to be able to tell you about our Nachtlichter app, which ran in 2 phases, one of which is running right now. So I'm from the German Research Center for Geosciences in the Ruhr University Bochum, and the project that I'm presenting in the second part is funded by the German Ministry of Education and Research as part of the research year 2023, Our Universe. So a bit of background about what Nachtlichter is. It's an app that was developed inside of a larger project called Nachtlichtbühne. Bühne stands for the Citizen Helmholtz Network for Research on Nighttime Light Phenomena. So within this project, together with citizen scientists, we co-designed 2 apps. One is about taking data about fireballs. These are very bright meteors that you can see even during the day. And our Nachtlichter app is about understanding light sources and light emission from cities. So the research background of why we wanted to do this is we've seen several images like this today showing, this is from the VRSD night band showing Europe and Northern Africa. And it's a moonlit night, so you can see the reflections from the clouds and from the ground compared to the water. And you see that our cities are very bright in comparison to those places. But the problem is this radiance measurements that we get, they don't really mean anything that we can understand. So if I zoom in here and show Dresden in Germany in a false color image where red is bright and green is less bright, we can see that in the Altstadt, the old city of Dresden, there's about 80 nanowatts per centimeter squared per steradian is the radiance. And the problem is that even if you're a physicist and you understand what a nanowatt is in a square centimeter in a steradian, that number still just doesn't really mean anything to you. Is that a lot or a little bit? You know, how many lights does that mean? And if we look across the river in the Neustadt, what we see is that it's about 1/4 as bright, but that's still an urban city center area. So why is it that the one area is so much brighter than the other? Are there more lights there or different kinds of lights, or are they brighter? we can't really answer that just with the satellite data alone. So that's why we developed the Nachtlichter app. I'm going to show you what the screens look like. This is sort of the basic first screen with the map that you see when you come in. And when you zoom in, you can select a transect that exists already to walk along, generally from one street corner to the next, or create your own. And then once you're in that, you walk slowly from one street corner to the next, tallying up all the different light sources you can see. So we had originally 18 different categories of light sources. And so you walk along and you see a light on the side of a building, for example, then you give us a little bit more information, you know, which direction is it shining, which color does it have, and is it a normal sort of brightness, or is it exceptionally dim or exceptionally bright? And in the case of lights that light over a larger area rather than having a luminaire, we ask you to estimate the size in these sort of human dimensions. So in the first campaign in 2021, which was funded by Helmholtz, we took about 4,000 surveys worldwide, mainly in Germany though, covering a total area of 22 square kilometers. And so I want to zoom in on a few of these areas to show you. Here's the city of Potsdam. You can see it's a really large area that we walked on all of the public streets where we could see the lights from. And so we're really trying to get a complete inventory. And I think that a lighting inventory on this scale has never been done before. So here you can see Dresden, which I showed earlier. And we also looked at smaller places. So here you can see these gray lines. These are the boundaries of the reprojected pixels from the Earth Observation Group's day-night band data. And so you see that we cover all of the lights that are inside of one of these pixels for our analysis. So before I get to the results, I will mention how we test the consistency, because it's a citizen science project. Does it really work? And this is work that's in press, but maybe still don't post it yet. Wait until it comes out and then you can show it. So what you see here, for example, is one transect, one street segment that people counted, and the yellow dots are the street lights that are in the lighting cataster from the city, and the number here, 3, that's how many the participant reported. And so you see that it generally lines up. Here it was 3, here was 4, but sometimes there are differences. For example, we can see in this case, it was an average of 3.5 over a couple of observations. And you can see there might be a question, do you count this light as belonging to this street here or to this street, right? So we can look at that really small scale on the individual street level, or we can look at larger scale. Yeah, I forgot to mention. The city streetlight database is about the public lighting, and some of those lights don't match our categories. So these are 3 examples of streetlights in Dresden specifically. This is what we would categorize probably as a path light and not a street light. This we would most likely categorize as a parking lot, and this we would count as a light mounted on a building. But in all 3 cases, these are actually public lights that are counted in the database as streetlights. Okay. So when we look at really large areas and we sum up the number of lights that we count compared to the number of lights that the city reports are there, that's these first 2 columns here. And so you see in Berlin, the areas we measured were within about 60 or so, which is pretty good. And in Cologne also, where our count is slightly higher. Now, the counts are expected to be different. Partly we make little mistakes sometimes. Something might get double counted. But also sometimes the city lights are off, or as in the case of Dresden, here we see we count fewer than the city does. That's because their public lighting doesn't look like a classic street light always. Now in Fulda, it's interesting because we count a lot more streetlights than what the city reports. And the reason for that is that one of our observation areas has a lot of larger stores, and they have private roadways that go into their store. So they light those private roadways with their own private lights, but those lights to a regular person look just like street lights. The point is they're not in the city catalog. And when we add up together street and path lighting and also parking lot lighting here, what we see is that our counts are then considerably higher than what you see in the lighting cataster from the city. And the reason for that is the city is not counting the private things that effectively look very much like streetlights. Okay, so now I want to show results comparing the day-night band radiance in these large pixels to the number of lights per square kilometer that we observe. And this is not published yet. It's still preliminary work. What I'm showing here, we haven't applied the time of night correction that we've developed yet. So don't share this yet, please. So what I'm going to show on all these graphs is a line showing the median value that we observed in this relationship between lights per square kilometer and day-night band radiance. So this is not a fit. So first I'll show all lights, and what we can see here is that there's a very, very clear relationship, of course, which had to have been there, between the total number of lights per square kilometer and the radiance of the day-night band. And the correlation is not as good as you would like, but of course we're counting things like doorbells and garden lights together with street lights, and of course they don't have the same weight. In any case, what you can see is that 1 nanowatt per centimeter squared per steradian means roughly 200 different outdoor light sources per square kilometer. So if you're talking about a city center like in Berlin near Alexanderplatz or someplace where you have maybe 100 nanowatts per centimeter squared steradian, that means there's about 20,000 lights per square kilometer in that region. And like I said, that number is going to change a little bit when we get to the final publication, but for your use, it's a first useful measure. Where are we? We can look at the different types of lights and how they relate to the satellite. And here's where it gets kind of interesting, because you see that the number of lights per square kilometer is much larger than the median in sort of small towns. And in particular, that with street and pathway lighting, it's much larger, and it becomes lower than the median when you get to the very bright places. So what's happening here is there's a limit to how many streetlights you would possibly want to pack into a little day-night band pixel, right? Because you cannot add more and more streets, and there's no reason to put the streetlights closer than, say, 15 meters. So there's a limit. It doesn't matter how busy the city gets, you're not going to start packing in more streetlights. Whereas in a small community, you can have as many streetlights almost as you have in a big city because of the density of them. Now it's different with signs. Here we see there's lots of places in the smaller, less brightly lit places where our participants counted 0 signs at all. And that really ramps up to being much higher than the median in the bright places. So what's happening there is that inside of a city, you can keep on packing in more and more and more and more signs. You've got lots of vertical space, and that can scale faster than the brightness that you see from space. Okay, so coming to what we're doing this year now, as I said, the project for this year is funded by the Ministry of Education and Research. Our campaign is called Time for the Night, and here what we're trying to understand is how do lights change over the course of night? Which ones turn off, and at what time do they turn off? And so just to give you a flavor of it, here's the New York City, the Manhattan skyline early in the evening, and then later in the evening, you can see that a lot of architectural light turns off. But also, it's not just the architectural light. We see all these private windows, they're all turning off. And so the idea that Manhattan is a city that never sleeps is actually totally false. Nearly everyone who lives in Manhattan goes to bed at a fairly reasonable hour. Here we see in the European context, this is Potsdam in Germany, in the main pedestrian shopping area early in the evening, and then later at night. And you see that there has been some changes in the lighting. For example, here, this storefront was illuminated and now is not illuminated. But the really big difference is how many people were on the street. That's completely changed. And so in our project this year, we're now also keeping track of how many people were on the street at the time that you made the observation, and we'll compare that to the advertising lighting. So just to show 2 concrete examples that are again on that same street. Here's an H&M that turns off their sign late at night and also turns off their shop windows. You can see this bright thing here. What's reflected is another shop across the street, and it's an Esprit. They left their sign on and they left their shop windows on after midnight. And so this is the kind of data that we're hoping to collect this year to better understand what is the practice in Germany. And you're all very invited to take part. I just said the practice in Germany, but actually one of the questions we're really interested in is, does Germany differ from peer countries? And is this part of the reason why Germany appears to be darker per capita in the day-night band imagery? So we would really love to have you take part regardless of where you live. This year, you don't have to cover these huge areas like last time. What we really need is that you do at least 2 and ideally more observations on the same street at different times of the night. So with that, I will stop and look forward to any questions you have.
Many thanks for the presentation. We already have a question from Dumitru Nastasiou saying there is an increasing number of light polluting small to extremely big video walls everywhere, in big part purely commercial, adverts, and only a few informative, like for public transportation. Some of them, like touristic video walls, ironically display content about nature tours. Are these video walls taken into consideration in the project? Of course, most of these also waste energy.
So thank you for the question. We count all the different light sources that are visible. And the reason for that is at the start, people were saying, okay, but if there's like a doorbell there, it's not really contributing to sky brightness, right? It's so tiny. Even with all the doorbells in the city, they don't add up to very much light. But what we didn't want to have is people having to make a decision. Does this count or not? Is this over the threshold or not? So we literally count everything. Any illuminated thing that you can see should be counted, and that includes large video walls. Now, the trouble is you saw there that we use human size references, right? So there's the first one is sort of this, the second one is sort of the size of a big screen TV. Because what we found is that the citizen scientists were very unwilling to try and estimate sizes, for example, in square meters. That means that with those really, really large things, we sort of have this extreme size, which is that it covers the area of many, many square people, and we don't measure their size so perfectly. But they are counted there also, and this year we would see if it turned off. That would be information we had that at a certain time it turned off, or by a certain time.
Thank you. If I may also ask, I don't suggest, or I don't suppose that you can collect any information about the people that actually take part in the project and not download the app. But still, do you have any feedback from people who, for example, participated last time, they're participating again? Do you collect any feedback on how to improve the app to be easier to use, for example?
So yeah, we went through a big period after the first app of when we had the second round of funding to improve it. There is no plan for a third use at the moment. Personally, I would love to see this become a European project over the long term to look at changes over time. And so we are collecting ideas about how to improve things. There's two pieces of feedback we've gotten back from participants. The first is even for people like you who are experts in light pollution, the experience of walking down the street and literally counting up every single light source that there is on that street will change your perception of the issue. And without us ever saying anything about that light is wasteful or bad or whatever, people contact us with examples of lights. They're like, I can't believe this is here. It makes no sense. So that, we did hope that the public would become a little better informed about light pollution by taking part, but it wasn't an explicit goal, and we don't try to teach them or something. It's simply the experience of seeing that light that makes no sense or is really glaring, and looking at it and categorizing it changes the way you look at the nighttime city environment. The second thing that we're hearing this year from people within Germany is that there's an impression that things have really changed, particularly late at night, with regard to the advertising lighting. And we're assuming this is due to two things. The one is the war that Russia started, which has made energy prices go up in Germany. So the combination of energy prices and a law last year that ran for about 8 months, there was a time period where signs were supposed to turn off late at night. So those two things, maybe in combination, have actually changed the practice in Germany. And our experience is that whereas turning off signs and windows and shop windows was pretty normal the last time around, there were quite a few you saw that turned off. It has now become standard. The German city centers now, most of the signs and the shop windows are turned off very late at night. So I hope that we'll be able to actually quantitatively show that difference. Qualitatively, it's been really surprising for many of us who have gone out on the streets to see how much things have changed. And it shows again that you really have to go there, because mostly all of us, including light pollution researchers, we're most of the time just at home in bed, usually between 11 and midnight, and we don't necessarily know what's going on the shopping streets in our cities.
You're right. Even the light pollution experts need some rest to be able to continue their hard work. So I agree with that. We've had a comment from Georgia McMillan, who has also participated just last night. So that's something, that's a feedback for you to read later. Mr. Vasavicek has posted a comment. If we talk about wasting energy regarding a night lighting, it should be noted that this energy is not completely wasted, but mostly radiated to the environment, which is basically the problem that we should talk about. And again, Dimitri Anastasio says, I'm very interested and participate in standardized and detailed citizen science. So I'm particularly happy about this project, and I truly would be happy for this kind of light pollution detailed monitoring with citizens would be implemented also in other countries. Thank you very much. So I don't know whether you can also comment about involving other countries.
Just to respond to Vadim, when you look at luminous efficacy, for example, this is a useful metric in some respects. It tells you something about the light. If you're choosing between two lights, it could be useful, but it is completely useless with regards to light pollution, because the issue is, if you have a sign, the question is, can someone read that sign? And once someone can read the sign, and you're taking into account also older people that need a little bit more light, when you have made that sign brighter, then the additional energy that you used, which is not gone, of course, it cycles through the environment, but it is energy that you used that you did not need to use. And in that sense, it is wasted energy. And in that respect, I also want to say to one of the earlier teams, I found that the limitations on the signs, I was excited to see that they were much more aggressive than what the CIE has been recommending. And I think it's very sensible, because we do not need small signs with 1,000 candelas per square meter. Those things they do not fit into the European lighting landscape. And I was very glad to see that the limitation there was much lower than is in the CIE recommendations.
Thank you. Would you also like to add one more comment towards spreading the work into other countries?
Yeah, just simply check out our project webpage. I posted it at the start, right before I started talking. All the instructions you need are there. Please share it with other people. It's available in English and German. If someone is interested in taking this and going further with it, with a European project or something, I could totally support you in helping to transfer that over, getting the citizen scientists involved. It's unclear whether I will be able to do that myself. So if someone is interested in going further with this, or for example, incorporating things like photogrammetry into the app, so that you point at a sign and take several pictures from different angles in order to get a measure of how many square meters it is. That would be very neat, but needs more app engineering experience than what I have. So we could talk about potential improvements, and I'd be happy to discuss that with anyone.
Great. Many thanks for the presentation and all your answers. I believe that our time's up for today. I'd like to thank all the presenters of this second session as well for keeping up very well within their allocated time. And now I will pass the word to Mrs. Anna Paskova from the Ministry of Environment of the Czech Republic again for a wrap up and some closing words.
Thank you very much, Helena. And also let me thank all the excellent presenters of today's webinar. And also many thanks to my colleagues for organizing it. We all feel the importance of coordination on the topic of light pollution within our individual countries, but also at the European level. And also, as we have seen throughout the presentation, the awareness of citizens is very crucial. We can inspire each other and share good practices, and it is also important to have data and facts in hand for shaping legislation. And I'm saying it from the position at the ministry trying to draft the legislation as best as possible. And also afterwards, we need the data and facts for the performance of national and local administration. 2 points I would like to share as a conclusion is that in the next 2 years, it would be very advisable to continue to raise awareness about light pollution and to take advantage of the opportunities that will arise at both European and national level. Well, the first opportunity is the possibility of inclusion of light pollution in the nature restoration plans. Those are the plans that member states will have to develop on the basis of the nature restoration law. Even though the taxation of the nature restoration law doesn't talk explicitly about specific parts, we do have light pollution as well as one advisable part to be within the nature restoration plans. Another opportunity could be also the update of the Zero Pollution Action Plan in 2025, where we foresee again, a public consultation by the European Commission, what has worked well, what has not worked that well, and what are the new topics that should be dealt with. Light pollution is included already, but as an emerging concern to be investigated. And since we have also heard today that at the European level, when it comes to light and health, we have almost come to an end with the research projects, maybe it would be really appropriate to talk about specific action. Therefore, I would like to encourage everyone to follow this agenda, both at national and at European level. Lastly, I would like to thank very much the Spanish colleagues for holding a conference, another conference on light pollution in Granada under the Spanish presidency, taking on the work under the Czech presidency, and it will take place in November very soon. And I'm very looking forward to meeting in person and wishing you good luck. As a last point, as I already mentioned, I would be very happy if you join us again for the announced Prague workshop in March 2024. We hope that events like this will support and extend the light pollution community, and it will encourage you also to contact each other and establish new cooperations. So thank you very much for today's attendance and webinar, and I wish you a pleasant rest of the day.